specialist and sports massage therapist and the founder of Hot Yoga Nottingham. He's really found yoga to be a part of his lifestyle and really has incorporated that, spreading his message to many through his studio and his teachings to really find the inner peace that so many of us are searching and bringing truth seekers together. Myself, I'm also a yoga teacher and based in London. Similar to Anand, left my corporate job to do this full time and have really enjoyed the journey so far, and I'm learning every day. So let's jump straight into the session. Really excited to start. So firstly, Anand, I'm sure you can agree, coming into the practice of yoga can be slightly overwhelming in the sense of there's so many different types, so many different names. Where do we start? Shall we start by giving the audience a brief intro of the main styles of yoga that we have? Maybe like Hatha, Vinyasa, Ashtanga.
Yeah, sure. Great to be part of this session. So obviously, like you just said, there's many different styles and types of yoga. So let's begin with Hatha yoga. So for me and personally, the way we teach in the yoga studio Nottingham, it's quite a slow practice. So Hatha, we're taking one posture at a time, and we're holding each pose, maybe for 2 to 3 minutes each posture. We're also looking at the alignment. I'm looking at the anatomy, the positioning of the hips, the pelvis, and looking at what muscular groups that you're using, what muscular groups are being engaged, what if the core is being engaged, and also more importantly the breath as well. So it's not just about the asana or the posture. I'm bringing in the pranayam into the actual posture itself, and then moving from one pose to another pose, and allowing the practitioner to really understand the way they're feeling. So Hatha, I would say, is a lot more slower practice than some of the others.
Yeah, agreed. I completely agree. I personally resonate with the Hatha yoga practice the most, but some people prefer something a little bit more energizing, for example, Ashtanga. So Ashtanga is more that, the 6 series. It's a set sequence. So there's 3 main sequences: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced is set up into 3. They all begin with Surya Namaskar practices, and then they go through a set sequence. And as you progress through the series, they get more and more challenging as you go, more and more vigorous, more and more energizing. So for those that want that kind of practice, then Ashtanga yoga might be for you. Should we move to Vinyasa?
Yeah, Vinyasa. You could say similar. So Ashtanga, Vinyasa, very similar to each other. But with the Vinyasa sequence, you're still going to be going probably at a faster pace as well compared to the Hatha style. And it's more of a flow. So you're flowing from one posture to another posture to another posture. And again, linking the breath as you flow through that series. But I guess it can be a little bit challenging. The Vinyasa sequence, you'd, for example, come into a high plank position. So you come into a high plank, then a low plank, which can be very challenging, then upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. So that's your little Vinyasa sequence. And then the teacher will go through the different steps within that as well.
Yeah, and I would also say Vinyasa can be used exactly as you said. And also, just as a general umbrella term, in Vinyasa means each posture is linked with a breath. So every maybe opening is an inhale, more closing is an exhale. Yeah. And Ashtanga is more of a set sequence, whereas Vinyasa can be, even though it's a flow, there's no set sequence. It can flow however. Exactly. So the people that like the kind of, I guess, repetitiveness and knowing what's coming, maybe Ashtanga is more for them, and Vinyasa can be more of a free flow.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yeah, so then I think the last main 2 we could talk about is Yin and then Hot Yoga, of course, which is your specialty.
Yeah. So Yin is your more like relaxing, restorative. It just allows the person to soothe into their practice, and you're doing longer holds. You're holding, for example, pigeon posture or pigeon pose. You're holding it for 3 to 5 minutes, and you're allowing the muscles to relax. You're going deeper into your practice, and it's going to bring up mental, physical, but also emotional feelings within yourself, and you have to work through those sensations and come out the other side. And you're always, I would say, you're working towards your edge and thinking about the way you're feeling and allowing that feeling, those sensations to pass through into the ground. And then maybe you can go push yourself a little bit deeper, and then you find a new sensation, maybe a new angle, and again you hold that position. And this is something that I would recommend probably a lot of clients to try and start with. especially if they're going through like any pain, like hip pain, lower back pain. It's a nice way to introduce themselves into the yoga practice as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing about yin is that when you're holding a posture for like quite a while, 3 to 5 minutes is quite a while to stay in
Yeah,
stillness
yeah,
and
definitely.
in such a deep posture, it's most difficult for the mind. So it's almost the
Mm,
most challenging, because that's like a breeding ground for thoughts, because you're in
yeah,
stillness in your body. So your thoughts can go into overdrive. So it's a really good challenge. And I guess training for the mind to just, calm, settle in, relax the breath so the muscles relax.
exactly. Yeah,
Get
yeah,
into
yeah. The
a
breath is so important. Like in
yeah.
all of this, any type you do, the breath is the key. Because, for example, I had a client yesterday, and we were doing a yin practice, and she was I think we were actually in pigeon pose, and she said, she said at the end, she said to me, I felt like leaving whilst I was in that position. All these thoughts are coming to my mind. There's some kind of feeling inside me, and I just wanted to leave the room. She said, but because as a teacher, you're guiding them, you're speaking to them, say, look, slow down the rate of your breath, find
Mm.
calmness within yourself. Inhale, expand, exhale, relax. And as you're guiding them through that practice, that allows them to sit within that position for a longer period of time and work through any challenges that they may be feeling as well.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Okay, and then finally, hot yoga, your specialty.
Yes, I'll say the hot yoga is just another element. It's another layer that you're adding on. And it just allows them to, again, go a little bit more deeper into their practice. The heat, allows the muscle to open. That allows them to go deeper into the practice, and yeah, just gain the benefits of the heat as well. Because we use, for example, at the yoga studio in Nottingham, we use infrared radiant panel heaters. So the scientific research around that, for people suffering from, like, for example, fibromyalgia, any muscular pain, allows the muscles to relax and again go deeper into the pose.
Yeah, so you would find the heat actually gives a lot of additional benefit to just maybe a regular practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. So I think we'll move on to maybe talking about selecting a teacher. So maybe those people that are new to the practice, how would you say how would they select a type of yoga, type of teacher? What would the first step be in getting into a practice?
I'll say the first thing is, obviously you've already come to a decision that you want to practice, you want to start yoga. So, every studio is going to be different. Every teacher is going to be different. So go and try different classes and see which teacher you resonate with, which teacher's style, practice, knowledge. Are you looking for from a physical point of view? Are you coming from more of a spiritual point of view? And then see which side works for you, which teacher you relate with, and then see if you can develop your relationship with that teacher, and speak to them on a one-to-one basis. Tell them if there are any injuries that you're concerned about. How can you work around those injuries, and if you do have any injury or any pain, then are there any particular postures that will support you going forward and long term to find relief, or eradicate some of that pain as well. So I think that it's very important to find a good balance. So, not just the physical, but also the spiritual side. You want to find somebody that's teaching authentically, but also who has a lot of knowledge of the anatomy as well. Because if you are, for example, if the teacher is giving hands-on adjustments, they should know, where to place the hands, which part of the hands should the teacher use when they're applying the pressure, and where they're going to be applying that pressure as well, which is very important.
Yeah, and because you've done extra work into being like a massage therapist, that would be really good. And people like working under you and all your students would really benefit from all the massage therapy and things that you do as well. Because hands-on
Yeah,
adjustment is second to none. I guess that's the difference between online and physical teaching, isn't it? You really get that
exactly.
extra approach.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, so during lockdown, we were doing online classes, and we were doing mobility sessions, and people had to bring a foam roller and a lacrosse ball, which is a hard ball. And because I physically couldn't give anybody a sports massage, I'd tell them to bring these tools and equipment with them, and we would break down certain muscular groups, and that allowed blood flow to enter that space, allowed the muscle to relax. And due to its success, we've now added those sessions to the in-studio sessions as well, on for example, a Monday and a Friday. And it just allows clients to come, use use tools to break down their own muscles, to break down their own myofascia, and that allows them to go deeper within their practice, understand where they've got pain maybe within the body, and then start to build strength and stability around that space as well. And ultimately that helps them with their yoga practice.
That's so amazing, Anand, because I think giving the students the tools themselves is actually the best thing, because we've even spoken about this, haven't we, that even though it's amazing to have a teacher and it's nice to put them to put you on the path and guide you, really and truly you don't need a teacher. It's not 100% necessary. You can kind of self-learn or just feel into the practice in small baby steps. But so it's really good that you give your students that tools themselves so they can take it away. You don't have to rely on someone.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you want the student or the practitioner to go away, not just do that 1 hour a week or 1 hour every other day, but you want them to go away and do their own practice on a daily basis. And if it's, you know, a 5-minute sequence, if it's something small that they can even do whilst they're, for example, standing at a bus stop. So I'll joke with some of my clients and say, when we come to Malasana, which is like a squatting position, I'll say, guys, when you're next to the bus stop, this is the position that you guys need to do. Or, you know, just balancing on the one leg, brush your teeth and balance on one leg. And they find it funny, but it's something, you know, practical and useful that they can do on a daily basis.
Definitely. Yeah, you're so right. And just going back to like choosing a teacher, I completely got what you said. And I find that, say, if you've tried a class and maybe you've not resonated with that, either the style or the teacher, don't completely rule it out. It might be, it's not that the teacher's wrong or the style is wrong for you, but everybody resonates with a different kind of person and a different kind of energy. So keep an open mind and maybe try another style or the same style with a different teacher.
Yeah,
So
I agree as well. And I also think, you know, look for authenticity in the teacher's practice. You know, look at their background. You know, not that I'm not saying, you know, every teacher is gonna use Sanskrit in the class. They're gonna know every single posture and the Sanskrit name. I'm not also saying, you know, they have to know mantras, but ideally they should know some, and they should be able to discuss the philosophical viewpoints as well, and go a little bit more deeper into the yoga history, you could say, because it's not just a physical practice, it's a spiritual practice. So they should be trying to bring strands of that knowledge and history into their practice as well.
yeah, you're so right. And I think
especially in the West as well.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say, I think both of our passion is bringing the Eastern teachings from, of course, from where it came back into the West. Because I know when I first started out at yoga, I really thought of it as a fitness practice. Even I was like, oh, this is like a fitness
I was the
practice.
same.
And then I learned, and when I was training, I was like, wow, this is something completely different. Why has it become like this in the West? Let's bring it back. And obviously coming from an Indian background, we're more passionate about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. Because, you know, we at home, we might do the puja, we'll do bhakti, we do chanting. You might see your parents doing things at home. And that's all a part of yoga. It's all a part of growing. And, you know, you're growing your nature and understanding your divine soul, basically. But then when you come onto the physical side, it's like they're like quick wins. The physical side are like quick wins, and they make you feel good. The endorphins are running, they make you feel good. You might lose a bit of weight, so you feel even better. But you know, the spiritual side is the way you feel inside. And that's the thing, we're all very externally focused. And now is the time to probably go more inside to understand who we truly are.
Yeah, agree. And I guess the biggest transformation comes when you make that internal change.
Yeah.
But for those that are starting out, I would say don't be daunted by all the spirituality and the depth of yoga. I would say personally, I came into the practice for physical reasons, but the reason I stayed is for the mental and the spiritual side. So it's okay to resonate with the physical side. And when it's your time and when you feel like it, maybe you'll start to want to get into the depth and the spiritual practice. So everyone has their own journey and is on their own path. So it's okay to, you know, start with whichever part of the practice you resonate with, but just keep in the back of your mind that there's so much depth to it and so much more to discover, which me and you are both still discovering on our journeys now.
Yeah, we're still, you know, I feel like I've got so much more knowledge to gain, I've got so much more knowledge to impart to people and supporting people as much as I can. And I think that's the thing. So since we've opened the yoga studio, we're always looking to see how can we support the clients more. And that's why, you know, sometimes clients will come to us and say, or come to myself and say, and then oh, my back's hurting too much, my hip and my shoulder. They're talking to me like I'm their doctor. And I thought, well, I need to learn, I need to gain more knowledge so I can support them and say, right, okay, you got shoulder pain. We need to look at your range of motion through that shoulder joint. We need to look at other muscular groups. Maybe it's the neck, because if the neck is coming forward, you know, we're living like sedentary lifestyles. We've lost a lot of the original blueprint of our body. So if the neck is coming forward, so every 1 degree the head comes forward, it adds 20 pounds onto the base of the neck. So, you know, there's muscles here, they need strengthening, they need stabilizing. So the yoga and meditation and pranayama, it's all so important, but I would say start somewhere and allow yourself to, you know, dive deep into the practice, see where it leads you. It may be from a physical point of view to start with, or it may be from a spiritual point of view, and that's absolutely fine. Just go on the path and see where you end up.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. I feel like we could talk about this for ages. We're both so passionate about the subject. Okay, so in terms of basic asanas, if someone's starting off their practice, is there any a couple of basic asanas, things that you would say for them to start their practice with?
Yeah, so I would say practice Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, because that whole movement is you know, flexing the spine in different directions. But then also you're strengthening the legs, and the legs, or you could say the midline of the body around the hips and the glutes. It's a very important region. So you want to feel stable as you're walking. You know, your gait, your walking movement should be very stable. And if you have got weak glutes, weak hips, that's going to send pain signals through your nervous system up and down. So I would say focus on your balancing postures, but also glute strengthening, hip strengthening. And some of those postures, for example, squat, also known like goddess pose, you've got Mallasana, garland pose, and then you've got some of your balancing. So, for example, warrior 3, and there's so many options in warrior 3. You don't have to go for the most advanced. You can break that posture down and just hold an isometric position. So isometric position is where you're holding it, for example, on that one leg, left leg, you're holding it, you're loading up that left hip, left glute in, for example, a tree pose or a warrior 3 position. And you're holding it, feeling it, and you're really letting that muscle just cook. And once it's cooked up, then you know you're going to start walking around. It's going to feel much more awake, more active. Your core is going to become stronger. And I think that's some of the beginning steps I would take.
Yeah, I think that's great advice.
What about yourself?
Yeah, so I would just add to that exactly what you said. Plus, I think there's that quote, isn't it? You're only as young as your spine is flexible. Your spine can move in 5 different ways. It can extend upwards, forwards, backwards, side to side, and it can twist. Yeah, exactly. So just incorporating postures that do that. So if you start from the very basics, you could just do Tadasana. So rolling the shoulders a little bit back, standing tall, hips nice and neutral. So, you know, when you're in a slouch position, you lock out the knees, hips jut forward. Some people stand like this. Just being really aware of just your natural posture in Tadasana, very simple pose, grounding down through the feet is a really good way to start. Then incorporating normal side bends, twists, whether that's seated twists or supine twists, forwards and backwards bends. And just like you said, Surya Namaskar has actually most of them in it. So it's another good way to start, a nice flowing sequence to get the body moving, the spine really mobile. And
yeah, definitely. And also just to keep it very basic, like so if the teacher has the knowledge of posture, they should then be able to guide you in terms of, if you're standing on the feet, where the pressure should be in the feet. Because sometimes when you stand too far back in your heels, you end up using your lower back and you end up using your quads. And obviously nowadays, like I said, a lot of people have lost their blueprint. And when you stand in your heels, you use your lower back too much. So we need a more forward energy in life. So we need to be leaning more forward into our big toes. When you use your big toes, you use your core more and you use your glutes more. And I think that's one of the biggest keys. So, you know, we stand a lot and we sit a lot. So making sure even when you're seated, so, you know, chair yoga, make sure you're seated and you're sitting in a erect position instead of slouching and dumping all the weight into your lower back. And again, that's going to be very important as well.
Yeah, no, you're so right. And that's really great advice. Okay, I feel like we're coming to the end of the session, even though we could talk for so much longer. I'm just going to ask you for a quick tip that you can leave the viewers with.
So my quick tip, I would say, is just go out and start practicing. Do something, make a change today for yourself, and you will reap the benefits long term. And you know, you want to feel good in your body, you want to feel good in your mind. So this is the time to start. You know, this is the great big Indian wellness show, so this is the time to do it. And if you've got any questions, by all means, you can always come to myself, contact me on, you know, Hot Yoga Nottingham's page or Instagram, or obviously again with Sarita as well, same thing.
Great, thank you so much.
What's your top tip then?
Yes, I was actually going to add to that. I would say that when we want to start a routine, we get a little bit like, okay, I need to do an hour. I need to do an hour and a half. I need to do at least 45 minutes. You need to pack it into your day and you get overwhelmed. But actually to start a routine requires baby steps. Anything you try to do that's too much of like a mammoth task, you get overwhelmed. And maybe after a week you drop off. So think about it in the sense of, okay, I want to meditate for 2 minutes a day. That's all I want to do. Just 2 minutes. In terms of your physical practice, 10 minutes. 10 minutes every other day. So anything you can do in bite-sized chunks is going to feel less overwhelming, and you're going to be able to sustain it long term. And once you can do something over, I don't know, I think it's the 30-day mark, 21-day mark, starts to become incorporated as a habit and then more as a lifestyle, which is exactly what yoga is. It's not like a fad that you just do for a few months or like one time on a Saturday. You want to really try to incorporate it as your lifestyle and your daily routine.
Yes, that's amazing. I totally agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And then thank you to all the viewers that took the time out to be here today. I really hope that you gained a lot from this session. Please feel free to reach out to Anand or myself if you have any further questions. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.